5 factors that may have material impact on the stock market. Number 1 is a case on A Group by US Securities and Exchange Commission. Number 2, emergence of nuclear threat in Russia-Ukraine war. Number 3 is Maharashtra State Assembly elections and the result of these elections. Number 4 is continuous huge selling by FIIs in India in the last 2 months or so. And number 5, muted earning growth in the month of September 2024. I'll help you understand the impact of these 5 big factors onto the Indian stock market with just one disclaimer that I'm not a politician. I'm not going to take anybody's side. I'm not going to say whether Russia is right or Ukraine is right. I'm not going to say whether Adani ji is right or US is right. My intention is to understand what is the impact on the stock market, and that's what I'm here to discuss. People who don't know me, my name is Rahul Jain. I'm a full-time investor and a full-time content creator. If you also want to get daily insightful updates, you can consider joining my YouTube member community. The link is in the description, or you can simply go to my channel and press on join button because I speak about market updates almost on a daily basis. You're going to learn a lot. The feedback of the community has been great. With that, let's get to point number 1. So this morning I woke up to the news that the US Security and Exchange Commission, US SEC, has filed a case against the A Group. So what is this case? Very simply, what I understood is that as per this case, A Group has paid around $265 million of bribe to the Indian officials. And allegedly this bribe was given to get state energy supply contracts. So just so that you know, power companies in India generate power, and they will have various contracts with the suppliers who will procure electricity from these power companies, and they will further distribute this electricity to the states. Now a power company that has more contracts is likely to generate more profits. So allegedly these contracts were worth $2 billion between 2020 and 2024. Now I don't know whether this is true or false. Again, law and justice will take its own sweet course, but what has happened because of this case is that there are a lot of impact on the Indian stock market. Number 1, this morning at around 11 a.m. A Group stocks were under huge pressure. In fact, at around 10:56 a.m. this morning when I was looking at the market, I saw that majority of the A Group stocks were down between 13% to almost 21%. But actually, it's not just about A stocks. There was far-reaching impact on various other sectors. So if I talk about, for example, power sector, have a look at my screen here and you will see that at around 10:45 a.m. today, this morning, REC Limited, PFC, these companies were down by almost 7 to 8% during the intraday. Of course, later in the day, these stocks were then recovering from this heavy blow in the morning. Also at around 11 a.m. this morning, PSU Bank Index was heavily down. Have a look at my screen and you will see that Nifty PSU Bank was down by almost 4.3%. State banks like, for example, State Bank of India, Canara Bank, Bank of Baroda, all these stocks were down in the morning at around 10:52 a.m. Even the PSU index, CPS ETF, as you can see here, was also down by almost 1.26%. Now these lending companies were under huge pressure this morning because many of these companies might have exposure to A Group, because during the Hindenburg allegation also, for example, you can see here LIC had huge exposure of around 35,000 crores to A Group, and this is where these stocks come under pressure. So when you are following this news, what you really need to make sure is not just about the A stock, also look at the sectors and the stocks that are getting rub-off impact, because these other sectors might get indirectly impacted because of this particular news. Now later in the day, A Group also came out with their official statement saying that these are all false allegations and we are going to fight through these allegations. And to be honest, my reading of this is that this is a very short-term impact on the overall broader market. I can't speak about the A Group stocks, but overall on the broader market, I don't think there is going to be a material impact in the short run. The second big factor that is having detrimental impact on stock market right now is the news that came out on Tuesday that Russia has updated its nuclear policy towards any non-nuclear country, like for example Ukraine. If that is supported by a nuclear company like US, then Russia can use nuclear power against Ukraine. Now, of course, this has a far-reaching impact in terms of the geopolitical tension. But from a stock market perspective, if I talk about that, if you see the Russian index since May 2024 is down by almost 26%. And just when it was about to recover, as you can see here, some minor recovery was being made. This policy change came and immediately Russian stock market also fell by almost 4.3% in the last 2 trading sessions since the Tuesday when the news came out. And apparently the same day, day when Nifty was also trying to recover. I think it went up to 23,700 level, and during the afternoon it started to reverse back to the previous level of 23,400 because this news came out sometime in the afternoon. Now it may not have material impact on Indian stock market, but please understand in the context that Indian stock market have rallied like crazy. Any smaller or bigger or a negative news, it is likely to have sentimental impact on the Indian stock market, and that is what precisely has happened here. I don't know whether the nuclear war will be there or not. Nobody can really predict, but this seems to be a purely sentimental fear right now in my view. Again, things may change very, very rapidly in future. Moving on to point number 3, which is Maharashtra State Assembly elections. The voting is done yesterday. The results are likely to come on 23rd of November. But the point here is that is it going to impact the stock market or not? And just to put this in some context, Maharashtra contributes around 13 to 14% into the GDP of India. So it is not small GDP contribution that I can see. But more importantly, how this result may impact the Indian stock market. So if the BJP-led alliance victory happens, then in my view, that is a very, very good sign for overall market because the policy continuity will be there. Infrastructure spending, capex spending is likely to be intact. Therefore, I don't really see any big impact. But on the contrary, if the Congress-led alliance comes back to power, then there is a chance that some of the money that is being spent on infrastructure or capex might start shift into the rural recovery and some other areas, and there might be a marginal impact on the Indian stock market. Nothing to really worry about, nothing to really panic here. It is only wait and watch situation. I think these events do have some impact in terms of sentiments on the stock market, but fundamentally I don't think it is likely to impact in short term because any policy change that may happen, it might take another 6 months to 1 year to 2 years to even get implemented, right? So these are all sentimental plays that will be there on the table, and as long as you as an investor do not get worried about these movers, you will be absolutely fine. Moving on to point number 4, which is continuous FII selling in the Indian stock market. So have a look at my screen and you will see that so far in the month of November, we have seen total net selling by FIIs around 34,000 crores. There are 8 to 10 more days to still go, and we can already see that this is a huge selling by FIIs. Now, a lot of experts now believe that a lot of this FI selling is done and we are going to see slowing down in the FI selling, because point number 1 is that people were earlier thinking that this selling is done because the FI investors are going to China. They are buying in the China market, but actually that may not be true. What is likely to happen is that FIs are actually moving back to US. Why? Because have a look at my screen and you will see that US dollar index, since the time Trump's victory was announced on 6th or 7th of November, whenever that was, it has gone up sharply. So US dollar is getting stronger day by day, and when that happens, FIs tend to pull the money out of the global equity market and they try to take their bets in the US market itself. But having said that, few experts now starting to believe that FI selling is almost done. We are likely to not see much FI selling in the coming weeks. Of course, we don't know what the future will entail, but my point is very, very simple, that all these buying and selling are very, very cyclic. FIs are opportunistic. They might return back to India, who knows when, right? So therefore, as an investor, you can't control these things. What you need to do is just sit tight and wait for markets to recover rather than doing any panic selling on the back of FIs are selling the Indian market. Now comes the 5th critical parameter. What is driving the Indian stock markets is the earning growth of our companies in September 2024 quarter. So the sales numbers have not been really impressive. And if you look at the recent data published in Economic Times, very quickly you will see this is the sales data that we see. In the large cap space in the September 2024 quarter, the growth rate in the sales has been around 5.9%. Previous year in 2023, this growth rate was around 6.5%. So it is slowed down definitely in this quarter. If you look at the mid cap space, this is looking very good. Out of the 118 companies reported better growth. So cumulative basis, if you see 10.1% growth in the sales in the quarter of September 2024 versus only 3.6% last year. So mid cap definitely has done better. If you look at the small cap, here also the sales growth has not been great. It has been only 5.2% versus 6.1% last year. To me, the earnings growth is the most important factor out of all these 5 factors, because this is all about fundamentals. I'm a fundamental investor. I look at the fundamentals of the company, fundamentals of the economy. As long as the fundamentals are growing, then I'm not worried about whether FIs are selling into the market, whether there is a new case or new allegations coming into market, or whether there is a geopolitical tension, because all these are short-term pain points. But what we really need to watch out is that these earnings that we have seen in the September 2024, are they going to continue when the next quarter 3 results come out in the month of January, when the Q4 results come out in the month of April? This is where I think the true litmus test of Indian stock market will come out. If the earning growth is not a worry, then I'm not worried at all about the Indian stock market. But if the earnings start to slow down, then there is going to be more trouble in my view. Again, this is my personal opinion, not a recommendation for you to go and sell off your portfolio. Absolutely not. Do not panic. In fact, this morning only I wrote a detailed post on my YouTube member community talking about 3 things that we need to think about. Number 1 is the patience. If you're willing to sell anything from your portfolio, just think about, are you really showing your patience or not? Are you really making the panic sale right now because the Indian stock market is down? Point number 2 is conviction, and this is where I talk about the long-term investments in Indian story. If you think that India is going to be a good structural story, then your conviction right now need to come into play, where you might want to accumulate, buy, downward average those stocks that you have conviction in, not what I am saying, not what Mr. Sharma is saying, not what other people are saying. It's all about your conviction. And if you have conviction, then comes the point number 3, which is the cash. Do you have the liquidity? Do you have the cash? Did you build your cash positions so that right now you might want to take some informed decisions when it comes to buying the dip? Again, I'm not saying you go and do that. It's all about your conviction. It's not about what me as an investor saying to you. It's all about patience, conviction, and cash in hand. These 3 factors are important for you to understand as an investor. Personally, I don't think I'm worried about Indian growth story. In fact, I'll shoot a separate video on long-term prospects of Indian stock market. Let me know in the comments if you would like me to shoot that video. Hopefully very soon I can present to you a lot of data that will bring home critical points about massive growth story in India in the next 5 to 10 years. I hope in this video you got a lot of content in one single video. If you did, let me know in the comments. A simple thank you. Also hit the like button. I'll see you in my next video. Until then, keep rocking.